When you think about the future of telecom, what comes to mind? Probably sleek 5 towers, shiny fiber optic cables, maybe even those new satellite constellations beaming internet from space. But what if I told you that the biggest force shaping our connected future isn't a piece of technology at all? It's something far less visible, but way more powerful: policy. That's right. Long before engineers build the next generation of networks, regulators and policymakers are drawing the blueprints. They're setting the rules of the game for everything from spectrum allocation and cybersecurity to data privacy. These rules decide what companies can build, where they can build it, and how it all works together. So today, let us pull back the curtain and look at the 10 regulatory trends that are quietly steering telecom's next decade. First up, the politics of spectrum. Think of spectrum as the invisible real estate of the airwaves. It's the land that all our wireless signals travel on. And just like prime real estate, it's scarce, expensive, and everyone wants a piece. For years, governments sold it off to the highest bidder in high-stakes auctions. But that's changing. Regulators are getting creative, exploring models where spectrum can be shared dynamically. For example, the FCC in the US has opened up the CBRS band, allowing businesses to create their own private 5G networks without having to buy a multi-billion-dollar license. Meanwhile, as we look towards 6G, scientists and policymakers are studying the terahertz band's frequencies above 100 GHz. The big idea is to move from simply owning a frequency to dynamically allocating time slices or location-based access. It's all about making our airwaves more flexible and efficient for the future. Next, cybersecurity regulation. As our entire world goes digital, our telecom networks have become the nervous system of modern society. This has made governments sit up and realize these networks are critical national infrastructure. So, a new wave of security laws is here. India, for instance, now mandates that operators only use equipment from trusted sources. It's not just about preventing hacks, it's about digital sovereignty, knowing exactly who built your network. The EU has its 5G security toolbox, guiding member states on how to manage risks from high-risk vendors. And in the US, there are laws to rip and replace equipment from untrusted suppliers. The message is crystal clear: in today's world, security and a trustworthy supply chain are just as important as speed. Third, let's talk about data privacy. Telecom operators handle a mind-boggling amount of our personal data: where we are, who we talk to, what services we use. With 5G and the Internet of Things, that data fire hose has been turned on full blast. Europe's GDPR set the gold standard, but now countries all over the world are following suit, from India and Brazil to South Africa. These laws are forcing telcos to completely rethink how they handle our data, from getting our consent to how they store and move it. It gets even more complicated with edge computing, where data is processed closer to you, not in some distant cloud. If your data zips across 3 different countries in a millisecond, which country's privacy law applies? Regulators are working on it, and the industry is adapting on the fly. Now, who actually decides what 5G or 6G even means? That brings us to our fourth point: the rise of standardization bodies. Groups like the 3GPP, ITU, and IEEE are the quiet architects of our connected world. They spend years getting thousands of engineers from rival companies to agree on a single, global standard. This is why your phone works in another country. Right now, they're finalizing 5G Advanced, which will bring AI into our networks and make them more energy efficient. But behind the scenes, the race for 6G has already begun. Alliances from North America, Europe, and China are all defining their vision for the next generation. It's not just about being faster, it's about sustainability, security, and even using networks as sensors. The big challenge for policymakers is keeping everyone on the same page to avoid a future of fragmented, incompatible 6 standards. Our fifth trend is taking us to space, non-terrestrial networks, or NTNs. Companies like Starlink, OneWeb, and Amazon's Project Kuiper are launching thousands of low-Earth orbit satellites to provide internet everywhere. This is a game changer, but it's a headache for regulators. Traditionally, a telecom license was tied to a country's borders. But satellites don't see borders. How do you license a satellite that's over Europe but beaming internet to a village in Kenya? Who's responsible if there's an outage? International bodies like the ITU are scrambling to create new rules for this new reality. Connecting the unconnected now requires global cooperation, not just local investment. Trend number 6 is about going green, environmental and energy policy. Telecom networks are power-hungry. A single 5-tower can use a lot of electricity. With millions of them being deployed, regulators are stepping in. The European Green Deal is pushing operators to report and reduce their carbon footprint. China and South Korea are encouraging renewable-powered base stations. It's even influencing spectrum auctions, with governments rewarding operators who commit to sustainability. In the future, networks won't just be judged on speed and latency, but on a new metric, watts per bit. 7th, digital inclusion. Being offline is no longer just a social issue, it's a huge economic disadvantage. For a long time, governments used universal service funds to pay big companies to build networks in rural areas. But that's evolving. Regulators are now encouraging smaller, community-led networks, often using shared spectrum and open technologies. In places like Africa, this is helping to bridge the digital divide faster and more affordably. It's a fundamental shift from seeing connectivity as a privilege to treating it as a basic right. 8th, the ethics of AI in telecom. Networks are getting smarter. AI is being used to predict traffic, optimize performance, and even fix problems before they happen. But this raises new questions. The Use AI Act, for example, might classify network AI as high risk. Regulators want to ensure these algorithms are transparent and accountable. If an autonomous system makes a mistake and drops an emergency call, who's at fault? The operator. The AI developer. This intersection of AI ethics and telecom policy is a brand new frontier, and it's going to be huge for 6G. 9th, we're seeing a push for regional strategic independence. The global telecom harmony is starting to show some cracks. Europe is championing Open RAN to create a more diverse and secure supply chain. China is investing billions in its own 6G research to lead the world in patents. The US is backing its Next G alliance to drive innovation. And India is becoming a policy lab, promoting local manufacturing and setting its own cybersecurity rules. This could mean that the next generation of standards will be shaped more by geopolitics than pure technology. So, what does all this mean for the people actually building these networks? This is our final point. If you're a telecom engineer, designer, or entrepreneur, you can't ignore policy anymore. Compliance drives your design. Standards drive your innovation roadmap. Security regulations drive trust with your customers. And sustainability goals can even drive your funding. The smartest companies are no longer just reacting to rules, they're anticipating them, aligning their strategy with where policymakers are headed. In the past, regulation often felt like it was playing catch-up with technology. Not anymore. Today, policymakers, engineers, and researchers are co-creating the future of connectivity. Spectrum, security, privacy, and sustainability aren't separate topics, they are all intertwined. As we journey towards 5G advanced and dream about 6G, remember that the biggest innovations might not be in the hardware, but in the rules we create to govern it. Because when policy and technology work together, we don't just innovate, we build a better, more responsible, and truly connected world for everyone. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this deep dive interesting, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. See you in the next one.